Welcome along, everybody, to Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. It's sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Visit drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
You already know where I'm going with this. Can I have some juice? I don't know that I have enough juice.
No, you got enough.
I want some juice for this, okay?
You just want to be able to hear yourself
I want some
more.
juice for this, okay? Listen, you saw it on Insta. Jets is in the studio.
It's good.
It's good stuff.
You're not as much
even
as
though Isaiah, even though Spencer put spinach on it, it's still good.
What's the problem with spinach? It's some good stuff. It's good stuff.
We'll discuss it after the show. Don't put spinach on pizza. But anyways, no matter where you
Better than
are,
pineapple.
specifically Springfield, Clarksville, Fort Campbell, but no matter where you are, it's always a great time to say, let's get Jets. And after this Jets, I'm going to have to hit up my guy, Mr. Joe Graves with IHateBuyingInsurance.com. Because, hey, guess what? This pizza's pretty rich.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty rich, and I got to make I wonder if anybody's ever insured pizza.
There's health insurance. That kind of covers under it.
No,
I don't know.
literally insuring pizza.
Yeah, there's
Domino's
carry-out insurance and delivery
But
insurance.
Domino's doesn't even match Jets. Anyways, IHateBuyingInsurance.com is the website. Go check them out. Go give them a shot. Our buddy Joe Graves, he'll hook you up.
Can you believe we are already to the postseason?
Yeah, that's how calendar works.
It feels like just yesterday we started in July and we're preparing for the previews of the season and such, but now we are on the cusp of the 16 playoff taking its first form and such. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we got a final week of the regular season to recap all the games and such. And let me be the first to welcome one of our special guests in studio, the man
He's not a special guest.
He's a
returning alum.
Returning alum, Mr. Isaiah Austin. Welcome back
What's up?
to the broadcast. Not booth yet, but welcome back to the show.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me back on.
We got it all hammered back out.
we got it all the details worked out. But
hey, here's the good thing. Here's the good thing, okay? He's already played the 3 playoff teams from the South. He played Christian Community in the North, and he played Bowling Green in the North. That's 5 out of the 6 playoff teams. If anybody's going to know a little bit about the teams in the playoff, I guess this guy over here.
Yeah, you got to coach on the sideline and such. It's a pretty good shaped playoff bracket that we're going to look at especially.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of close games in this postseason, even more than a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were in favor. We both won a 16 playoff. You, though, won it NBA style, where it's just the best 6 teams.
Well, NBA, that you still have the conferences, Western
but
and
in
Eastern,
each conference, it just goes 1 through 8.
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
That's just my theory on it.
We'll see.
We'll
see. Might get there.
But you know, regardless.
I do think the 16 playoff is a great idea, though.
Oh yeah, it's implemented for the first time.
I
James has
think
been advocating for it for
I've
years.
advocated for a long time, and it's literally for situations like this where all that has to happen is, Riverside could upset South Haven. And then all of a sudden now
Don't
Riverside.
preview your picks too early.
I'm not.
Though.
I said could.
Could.
I said could. South Haven's still the 2 seed.
Yep.
But Riverside could upset South Haven, and then they've got to go play Ezell, who they were tied at 30 going into the 4th quarter, first game of the year. So these are 2 different teams. Lancaster now is going to have to cross over and play CCS after trying to beat Bowling Green. Hey, guess what? This is what it's about right here.
Yep, it's about the 16 playoff. But for the final time, ladies and gentlemen, of the 2019 season, follow along on your helmet schedules from top to bottom because we're recapping the final games of the regular season. We'll start with the Thursday game we were not present at, up in Knoxville, up a little bit towards the mountain areas. Not quite there, but 72.
Knoxville is not in the mountains.
72 points is what the Tennessee School for the Deaf put up. And as far as we know, the highest score a team has had and lost in 8-man football in a long time.
We're going to do the right thing. We're going to give credit where credit is due. That was a stat pointed out to us by Mr. Jonathan Thompson from Tennessee 8-Man Weekly.
I'm going on his show tomorrow.
We typically don't discuss it, but great stat pointed out by him, and just a heck of – they were up 72-60 with a few minutes left, and the Heat just came roaring back.
Yep, final score on that, 74-72. The Heat got it done on the road. And I'm actually going on Jonathan Thompson's show tomorrow. Be sure to catch that podcast. We'll be talking with him about pre-playoffs going into the postseason and everything. So
and if you haven't listened to it, go catch our interview with 8-Man Academy that we did last Sunday.
We've been doing a decent amount of interviews this year.
Hey, that's what happens. It happens.
Yeah, it's always weird as the one who's usually interviewing others to be
interviewed. that was kind of weird.
It's always a surreal
that was kind of weird, but
get in that
it
situation.
happens.
But yeah, Tennessee Heat 74-72. Their season not quite done yet because they did pick up a few games, but for them to get that victory against the Tennessee School for the Deaf, especially on the road in Knoxville, great win for the Tennessee Heat.
Well, and it's a great game for the Heat, and it's a great game for Tennessee School for the Deaf as well. You know, getting to close out the season like this. I'm trying to pull up stats for Tennessee School for the Deaf because I want to get. I know Mr. Lorenzo Curry played. That's obvious. The young man just insane. Went off. He's one of the guys that, you know, if they're able to schedule more MTAC teams next year, that is your number one that you have to game plan for, and he's a senior, but this young man is just incredible. The way that he commands the game, it's next level.
Yeah, and that's two teams to really look out for going into next year. Two of the teams that aren't in MTAC that are going to get on the schedule probably a lot more: the Freedom Cowboys and Tennessee School for the Deaf, because both of those clubs really great, especially for the Cowboys. They finished out the season 4-1 against Tennessee teams.
Yeah,
4-1, and we'll get to that in a little
bit.
They
beat
only lost to Riverside.
No, let's see. Yeah, they beat 2 playoff teams. Beat the Heat, who would have been in the playoffs, and then they beat who else they beat?
FCA.
FCA, yeah.
And their only loss was to Riverside, who's number 3 seed in the South for the postseason. But congrats to the Tennessee Heat on getting that victory on the road. Their next game is, I believe, next Friday at noon against the. Is that next Friday?
No. Heat's game is with Freedom next week.
Freedom.
Friday night. This Friday, 7:00. Tennessee School for the Deaf. By the way, it's Bring Your Kid to Work Day if you hear kids in the back. So, where was I going with that?
Yeah, next Friday.
Next Friday,
they're
Tennessee
at the
Heat,
Independence
Freedom Cowboys, right? Yeah, and then Tennessee School for the Deaf is done. They finished the season 2-6. No, 2-5 rather.
Yep.
2-5. So it's tough for them. It's tough, but a great team. They're only losing 2 seniors.
Yeah, and Lorenzo Curry's going to be back as a senior
next year.
Curry's
one of the ones who's coming back.
That's going to be fantastic.
They'll be on fire.
Yep. And the game we were at in the Battle of Franklin, looks like I got to jump into the lake, Isaiah, up on the mountain for the All-Star game. 29-20, the Knights got the victory for the first time in 5 years against the Franklin Christian Academy Falcons. And Isaiah, you were right on the sideline for that. You could tell even though you guys were up 21-6, the Falcons, they would not let go. You guys had to push through on your defensive secondary.
No, they wouldn't, and it was a tremendous effort by both teams, especially FCA, losing their starting quarterback who was going to be the guy this year and coming in with a backup, and he had a heck of a game. And, they pushed to the last minute and made us start sweating there up until the last buzzer rang.
Well, and they won the first game of the year with him against the playoff team, against South Haven.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was the man. And then all of a sudden have him go down. Now, it kind of worked out for him, though, because Zach Dooley, a sophomore, comes in, and now they have a quarterback that they can work with a little bit. So, on that regard, it helps them out. But FCA is still losing some seniors.
Yeah, but
you're both kind of in the same classical and Christian are both in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that I know you probably saw this at some points too, that they could get some offense going. But as far as the plays that almost happened, like they're 1 year away or one game away or more rep away.
Well,
some passes were slightly overthrown that would have been touchdowns. Runs, the hole was just barely missed. They are one step away from going back to how they used to be.
Well, how about a shout out to Mr. Andrew Hasley too? Just incredible game Friday night, 2 touchdown catches. I don't know if you noticed him, but I don't know how you couldn't have. Young man was incredible. But then on the other side. You guys, your guys showed up. Your Clay Lott, your Josh Salstron. Just over and over and over again, the skill guys showed up, and I think that's where the game was won Friday night.
Yeah, definitely. And the defensive side of the ball was the side I was most proud of, especially Josh Salstron getting 15 tackles in that game, and the defensive line getting a couple sacks. We played them well, but both teams fought to the last second. It was definitely the definition of the Battle of Franklin. You always get that every year.
It was a battle. It was like we said, it was down to the wire. If FCA doesn't miss one of those, they missed 3 2-point conversions. they don't miss one of those 2-point conversions,
it's a one-score
it's
game.
a one-score game
Exactly.
when they had the ball with 4 minutes left.
Exactly.
And then that completely changes how you play the game because you're not playing to try to hurry up and score and then get the ball back. You're playing that, hey, let's just run this clock out and score.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. Fantastic game for the Knights to get that victory. Isaiah and I made that wager right before game time, so it looks like I'm jumping in the lake on the mountain at Fort Bluff. But
And I came up.
I cannot wait. I'm honestly a little bit worried. I am a little bit worried.
Just a smidge. It's
Yeah.
always cold up there.
Could
You
be bad
remember
news.
calling the championship last year in the All-Star game there. It was cold on game day.
Yeah, I got so
you're on
sick
top
on
of a
the way
mountain
home.
in the middle of November.
Exactly. And it's a week later because of the All-Star game being pushed out, so it's I'm ready to get cold, basically.
You'll be a little chilly.
First time since I believe 2005 that a team from Kentucky and a team from Alabama have collided for 8-man football. The Freedom Cowboys played their final game of the regular season, and now postseason they're picking up the heat. Even though they're not in the postseason,
I think it's regular. I consider.
We'll consider it regular, but the Bowling Green Warriors keeping their guys warm before going into the playoffs, and the Freedom Cowboys got it done on the road, 68-30. So that ends that at least ends their originally scheduled games where they are 4-1 against MTAC teams. I believe actually make that 5-1 against MTAC teams.
No, 4-1.
Pretty sure 4-1.
Yeah,
okay.
4-1. They
Thought
only
it was
played 5
It's
teams.
3-1 against Tennessee teams, and
Yeah,
you had 4-1 with Bowling Green. But for the Warriors, I mean, they still managed to put up 30 points against the Freedom Cowboys. So good on them, especially going into a tough matchup in the playoffs against Lancaster.
Well, David Crow was able to show up in terms of passing the ball. He had a good day. 7 of 14, 158 yards and a touchdown. Gage Holman, 18 carries, 195 yards. And let me go through and count the touchdowns, literally. There's 1, there's 2, and 3. So 3 touchdown runs for Gage Holman. No, 2 touchdown runs, and he threw for a touchdown. I mean, the young man is literally does everything. And a shout-out to him. Had a great visit with Campbellsville University this last week. But for the Cowboys, Mr. David Kinney, their quarterback, 6 of 11, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jaden Hermina, 11 carries, 157 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kinney also rushed for 2 touchdowns. So they've got guys on both sides of the ball who can just do it. They can get it done. And in terms of defense for Bowling Green, I'm trying to look at the total tackles. I mean, it's all spread out. I mean, everybody contributed in this one. So great effort to close out the regular season for Bowling Green as they head into their playoff game with Lancaster this Friday night.
Yeah,
this Saturday night rather.
And you faced off Isaiah you were an assistant coach for that first game against Bowling Green. Your opening game of the season, big victory for you guys. You at least saw with the Warriors that they're another one of those teams that, regardless of how far down they are, they're still going to try and keep scoring and try to make it back.
Yeah, and we know they lost a lot of guys last year, but the guys who have remained on the team, we did go on quite the run in the second and third quarter against them, but they kept fighting at the end. They were quite literally 2 big plays and 2 drops away from just that game being a coin toss, like us virtually being tied.
Yeah.
And that is just a testament to them. Although we had a bunch of returning players and a bunch of guys with experience, and they maybe just had a few, they came out and played hard, and I think that's a testament to how they've played this whole season. Especially, I don't think there's anything to be down on about that game against Freedom. They got a playoff series coming up. That game against Freedom, they put, 30 points on an absolute powerhouse that have come in and dominated almost every Tennessee team.
Well, we saw it in the Heat game. They just wouldn't go away. I mean, it was 84-64.
Yeah.
Typically you think a team scores 84 points. Well, it's going to be a landslide. They only won by 20 points.
The mercy rule was running in the start of the fourth quarter, and
then they killed it.
Yeah, they killed it.
So, I mean, not enough can be said about Bowling Green, the job that Coach Don Brown does up there with those boys. And I said this Friday night. I want to see – this is the first time we'll ever see it. I want to see playoff Gage Holman.
Yeah.
Like, you see the mood and the mode that he's in regular season. Imagine when he gets put in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's win or go home. I mean, the young man's about to go off Friday night.
It's going to be
Saturday
interesting
night.
to see.
I keep saying Friday night.
It's going to be interesting to see how they use him too, because it seems like every time I pop on a BGCA game when y'all are broadcasting when we're playing him, he's playing a different position on offense.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Is he going to be the center?
Running back.
He's a jack of all trades.
Well, the only thing they don't do is line. And you got Cooper Guy at the center.
Yep, that's going to be a great matchup in the playoffs this weekend. Lancaster Christian hosting Bowling Green, of course, Freedom. They're playing in the Independence Bowl against the Tennessee Heat next week. A preview of the playoffs as the Patriots of South Haven travel down to Fayetteville to collide with the Knights of Riverside. And the final score on that, the last home game for the Knights this year, 60-24. Riverside got it done at home, got the victory, and it's very interesting to wonder how much of travel came up into that and how Riverside was really able to stop that South Haven offense. But kudos to Riverside for getting it done, and they got a flip-flop heading up to Springfield.
Can I just point out that I called it?
You gave the right prediction. What's your record after this week?
So I lost 13 games total this year. Out of 58. So my final record was 45-13.
45-13, and then you've got playoffs coming.
And then I got playoffs coming up. So, but anyways, Riverside, let me say this too. Riverside seniors, unbeaten at home this year.
Yep.
Riverside did not lose at home this year.
It's tough to win in Fayetteville at Knight Stadium.
It's and even you look at last year, you know, who let's see, they played Webb. I think Webb beat them at their place. And then Bowling Green beat them in the bowl game.
Yep.
But I think those are the only two losses they took all year.
Yeah, at home it's tough to win down there. And Isaiah, you especially know because of that game Class on the road. It's just tough to win in that environment with the travel and everything factored in. But Riverside's a tough team to beat.
Oh, definitely. And when we went up there, you know, it was just a really muddy and mucky game. It was raining and the scoreboard wasn't working and. Cool. Riverside came to play though, and I'll name a young man by name. It was Crutcher Azell. He was very much impactful on both sides of the ball. Very hard to game plan against, and he's why he is one of the main reasons I think they're the X Factor team in this playoffs.
Oh yeah, and James is already saying that they could get an upset against South Haven, especially after that score.
Well, and you mentioned Crutcher. Crutcher is insane. Crutcher Azell is an athlete on both sides of the ball. But, you know, you look at quarterback, you look at Riley Hall, you look at Michael Black at receiver. Michael Black as a DB's got 8 interceptions on the year.
Wow.
8 picks. Is
he leading the league in interceptions?
I would have to check Max Preps on the stats.
That's unbelievable. Is that in 9 games?
That's in their games, yeah. That's in 9 games, 8 picks. And he was one of the ones he picked off Deuce and took it back for a touchdown.
Wow.
I mean, he's next level, and he's only a junior.
Yeah.
He's a sophomore.
Sophomore. He's got 2 more years.
He's got 2 more years of quarterbacks trying to plan for him. Yeah, imagine that.
His graduation can't come sooner. I got to tell you,
it's like the situation with Coach Adams Friday night.
Oh yeah.
Josh,
there was a post game huddle. He's like, "Who's it? 56? Are you a senior this year? Yeah, good."
It's like thank you for playing, but it's time to graduate.
It's like back in the day. It's like back in the day with the guy that I played with, Channing Gillespie, who was it? The Aaron Academy coach. We're all doing the post game huddle. He goes, 21, you graduating this year? Or no, someone said something about this being the last game of the year on that field for Channing. He said, it's the last game? He goes, yeah. He goes, thank the Lord. I am so tired of playing against y'all.
Yeah. But really great victory for Riverside in their last home game of the year. They travel back up to Springfield in the playoff game this weekend against the South Haven Patriots. So we'll see if Riverside can go 2-0 against South Haven on the year or if the Patriots will just defend their home turf for one last time in 2019. The other North game in action, not impactful for the playoffs, but the Lighthouse Lions had their homecoming and senior night hosted in Antioch. What an upset. 47-30, the Lions got it done against the defending conference champions and the number 1 seed in the North, Christian Community Colts. And it's really a testament to how Lighthouse, even though they took some tough losses earlier in the season and tough losses against some playoff teams, really shows that it really shows how they came together as a team with more practice and more reps, that they were able to get the victory. And it doesn't matter if it's at May Flanders Field or on your home turf. It's tough to get a victory against Coach Flanders and that high-powered offense.
Well, I know that everyone says no matter what, you have to, you just have to bring it. But I will point out that in Lighthouse's first 3 losses, they had 2 star players out every single game. Whether it was a suspension, whether it was previous requirement, previous engagement, something they were missing 2 of their starters the first 3 games. Guess what? They lost the first 3 games. Then they head into the season, and I've got their schedule pulled up here. You see them. They beat CCS. Mm-hmm. They lost to Bowling Green by 6. They lost to the Heat by 6. Their first 3 games, though, they're playing Lancaster, who's number 2 seed in the playoffs. They're playing South Haven, who's number 2 seed in the playoffs. And then the 6-point loss to the Heat. And then they played Ezell, who's first place in the South.
Yep.
So, up until that's not 4 easy games at all. And then they beat Swanee. And then beat Christian Community. So, and we saw that game against Ezell Harding, the Battle of the Bell. Yeah. That's a completely different team.
Yep.
So, 2 6-point losses.
As you're getting advertised.
Shut up, Max Preps. There. 2 6-point losses. You play the number 1 team in the conference who goes unbeaten, and you play them tough. This is a different Lighthouse team. I would love to see what they look like in the playoffs. And they beat Bowling Green
imagine
a couple weeks ago.
Imagine if they had beaten Bowling Green earlier in the season. We would see them against Lancaster in the first round. That would be an amazing ball game to see. Not to say
especially
Bowling
with Aiden Hooper hitting his stride.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got Christian Sharp. Jamari Teague is just insane. On the defensive side, Dedrick McLean is bringing it. They've got some studs. And guess what? They're only losing a couple seniors, including Dedrick. But Hooper's coming back. Sharp's coming back. Teague's coming back. This is a dangerous football team to watch next year.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to see. And for Lighthouse, of course, they end their season with a great win and homecoming. But Christian Community, they do have a bye week to work out the kinks and see what worked and what didn't work before they host either Bowling Green or Lancaster.
I'm not in the business of giving excuses, but I do like to look at the why. I know Christian Community had a bunch of players out Friday night for injuries. Yep. They were missing a whole bunch of dudes, and they had a dude go down on the first drive. So that has to factor. You can't look at a team like CCS and look at how dominant they've been. And, yeah, they took a loss to Lancaster. They took a loss to Ezell Harding. But no one had Lighthouse picked to be. And you know why? Because no one had Lighthouse. They shouldn't have gotten unbeaten by Lighthouse. I mean, honestly, on paper, they shouldn't have gotten beaten. But you factor in injuries, and then you factor in Lighthouse's side of just that was their best game of the year.
Yep.
A lot of things went in the direction to enable that to happen. And again, huge win for Lighthouse. Congrats on the great season. Coach Hollis has got the boys clicking.
Yeah, and I would say this definitely came as a surprise to me, seeing the result of this game, because Lighthouse had a very different ending to the season as they did a start.
Yeah.
So this is a team that, last year the record was not great, but they had a Division I running back. I mean, the talent on that team was very, very evident. And then
they had a 4-year quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And then those guys graduate. There should be no expectations after that.
Yeah,
but they absolutely silenced all the doubt this season and have completely made probably the fastest rebuild I've ever seen in the MTAC.
Oh yeah.
Well, and their game against Lancaster, that came only after 2 weeks of practice. So Lancaster's been practicing since early July. Lighthouse doesn't start practicing till 1st of August. And then they've only got a couple weeks
prep
to try to
prep time is crucial for high
prep
school
time is
football.
crucial for that first. I mean, they picked a heck of a first game to come out against Lancaster, who was already hitting their stride. Yeah. They played in the Jamboree. I think that was Lancaster's season opener too. They played the week before.
Yeah, their season Lancaster season.
They played
opener
the Heat
was
the week before.
Yep.
So they played in the Jamboree. They played in the Heat. They're already rolling. They're clicking. They're communicating. And then Lighthouse has to play them after 2 weeks of practice.
Yep. It's tough.
I mean, you got to factor that in. So Lighthouse, watch for them next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Colts got a week to rest their players a little bit more and then prepare for either Lancaster or Bowling Green in the semi. Speaking of Lancaster, final game of the regular season almost felt like it was a Sunday night football feel where it was the final game of the regular season. Final score, 62-32. Ezel Harding got the W and clinched the #1 seed in the South. They've got a first-round bye. And for Ezel Harding, it's just that combination of Kadarius Price and Derek Griffin that really led them. And look at Jamari Liddell was another big name. We called a whole bunch in that game. For Lancaster Christian, it was just that they managed to be one of the top-scoring teams on Ezel throughout the year. They got 32, which was tied with the Christian Community and maybe Lighthouse, some other teams.
Lighthouse put up 34 on them.
Yeah, 34. It was close up there. But for Ezel, they just watched they watched your film, FCS's film against you guys, and got pressure on Bragg, and that's what mostly kept them to 32 points.
Well, if you're in the administration for Ezel Harding, go ahead and pat yourself on the back because that was one of the best business decisions they've ever made.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, to make the switch and then all of a sudden go 8-0 in conference, 8-1 overall, and your one is to the defending national champions after you drive all the way down to Birmingham, Alabama. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, great decision. Coach McGee's got the boys clicking. That line on the offensive side and the defensive side, that's the best line in the league right now. Yeah, I will bar none. I will put it down. Y'all, the classical line is good. Defensive line is good.
Offensive,
but I don't. But I don't. Because here's the thing: they were able to put that pressure on Deuce the entire game, whereas Lancaster was able to adjust in the classical game and kind of ease up that pressure a little bit.
I would agree and say that the Ezel Harding line is definitely deeper than our line.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Well, you got guys like Alex Valbuena, Reed Steinley, guys that have played at when they were in their 11-man, and they've tasted the situation of just getting beat week after week after week, and then all of a sudden they get an 8-man and they start winning, and they start like piling teams. Yeah, it's a momentum builder. That I would say they rolled into Friday. Both teams rolled into Friday with momentum, but I would say going into the playoffs, Ezel has the most momentum of any playoff team.
They do, definitely, and I would say that they did put great pressure on Deuce, but you have to look at the fact that they did score 62 points in this game, in a game that could very possibly be the championship game. And you look at their offense; it's very simplistic. They run essentially the same 3 plays every time, where Derek Griffin goes in at shotgun, puts Kadarius Price in motion. He has 3 decisions here. He can either hand it off to Kadarius Price on the outside, where he's hard to catch and hard to bring down. He can fake the handoff and take it up the middle and still bounce it out because of his speed. Or he can fake the handoff, fake the draw, and get guys going out on slants if they go into a cover 2 to guard the flats. So there are so many counters that can go out of this and so many things that can happen just out of these 3 plays. And that's what makes them so successful.
And I would say if you're a defense going up against that offense, the most important position against that team is defensive end. Because if you can push the play back inside and your guys inside can handle it, you'll be just fine. You'll be all right. But if Derek Griffin, Kadarius Price, Braxton Coleman, Jamari Liddell, if all those guys get outside on you, it's game over because of the speed. I mean, we saw Derek Griffin run for a 75-yard touchdown it was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and I personally believe that Kadarius Price is probably the most college-ready back in the MTAC, and he's just a junior. I mean, when you're looking at it from online, it doesn't do justice to the fact, like, this is a grown man. This is a big guy, and I don't know. I would say that the average player could not bring him down one-on-one. He's just
you take him or Michael Bond.
I would take Kadarius Price.
Oh,
I would
tripping.
take
Tripping right now.
Are we talking about? Look, I would take Michael Bond at defensive end, but Kadarius Price
I'm
is
talking
on an
about
undefeated,
running back on
undefeated.
running back.
Kadarius Price is rushing for 16 yards per carry. There is not. I would not even say players. I think there are probably 8-man teams in America that can't bring him down.
What did you put on your chest pizza?
He was. Look, we at the beginning of when we played Ezel Harding, it was kind of back and forth, feeling him out, and then they started giving the ball to Kadarius. I see it as the amount of points that they score are directly attributed the amount of touches that he gets.
His first show back, and he thinks he could do hot takes.
So nothing about his quarterback, nothing about that line.
Derek Griffin is fabulous, but I'm telling you that Kadarius Price takes him to an entire new level. That they'll be an untouchable team until he graduates.
Okay, all right. By the way, to get the stats correct, to get the stats correct, Lancaster put up 32. That was not the most. Lighthouse and Christian Community put up 34. Franklin Christian put up 38 on them.
Yeah, it was
backups.
I said it was one of the top scoring points.
It was backups, but still, they put up 38 on them.
Still put up a good score. But congratulations to Ezel Harding in their first year in 8-man football. They've got the number 1 seed in the South. They've got a first-round bye, and they await either South Haven or Riverside Christian. And then Lancaster, they got to go right back to work because in about 6 days from now, they've got the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors.
Let's give Lancaster credit where credit. They handled their business all year. I mean, that was their first loss. So their first loss is to literally the best team in the league. They handled their business, and guess what? They got a home playoff game Saturday night.
Yep.
So, it's not like they just slacked off all year and they lucked into they handled their business all year. If you're Bowling Green, you're worried because this offense is still potent. Yep. Just because Ezel shut them down Friday night, that doesn't mean you can shut them down again. You have to. If I'm Coach Don Brown, whoever, I'm on the phone with Ezel's coach.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to copy their game plan because that's what you have to do against them.
Or maybe asking some people for film.
Or hit up Coach Herrera at Classical, and try to get his game plan and whatever his game plan is. Try to implement that and continue it.
Yep. But congratulations to Ezel. They got a first-round bye. Lancaster, they got to be right back to work. So as Isaiah's getting our studio guest set up, we show you the MTAC playoff bracket. So it is now finalized. No more of these stars, nothing like that. So here's what we've got. The Colts and the Eagles are the number 1 seeds in the North and South. They've got a first-round bye, and they await the winner of the first-round wildcard matches. Friday, October 25th, the Patriots of South Haven host the Knights of Riverside at 7 p.m., and on Saturday, the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights host the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors at 7 p.m. as well. So splitting up the first round there, we'll have both of those to you on 8-Man Extreme, and maybe something really special for the broadcast that we won't reveal too much, but you'll be seeing some good stuff there.
I want to correct myself. The Tennessee Heat Freedom Cowboys game is November 1st.
November 1st, so it's a few weeks from now.
Not next Friday. It's the Friday after.
Yeah, so it's the day of when the second round is supposed to start, something like that. But and as the second round concludes, November 9th, that's Saturday at 7 p.m., Ezel Harding will be the host to the 2019 MTAC Varsity Football Championship. And maybe the Eagles will be able to host they would potentially be the second team to claim an MTAC championship on their home field. And
that is after information that we got yesterday that, of course, we posted that the game would be on the Friday night, the 8th at 7:30. That information changed yesterday, so that's why the updated information is there on the bracket.
Yep, that information changed, and who better to talk about it than our in-studio guest. We'd like to welcome in the president of the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference, Mr. John Horner, also the director of operations over at Lancaster Christian. Thank you for coming in studio, John, and congratulations. You are the first MTAC president to be an in-studio guest for us, so it's a pleasure to have you here.
What does he want, a free car?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we might. I'm not guaranteeing anything.
It looks like I got a little free imaging center thing right here.
Yeah, just a little clip.
I'm taking it, too.
You're taking it for sure. The GracePointe Healthcare
and the little bag.
What are these?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know. It's a little clip on.
It's some clips or something like that. Maybe a rep brought those in for GracePointe Healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, it's the little thing for the back of your phone.
Oh, it's one of the pop stands or something?
Yeah, it's like a pop socket.
Oh, pop socket.
Yeah, they don't work.
That's pretty cool. they occasionally work. It depends.
Look right here. She hasn't used it yet.
Yeah, clearly it's so.
No, appreciate you guys having me on today.
Of course, yeah, we appreciate you coming by. So let's get right into it. So I'm gonna give you some names of some teams throughout the season of what you think of them. Some teams that have been in and out and such. Would like for you to give your thoughts on that. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I just don't like football, so it's all right.
Okay.
No.
You're of course.
Thinking about the Eagles game right now.
I wouldn't. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't either if I was a Philly fan.
Right.
Okay.
So your thoughts on Ezel Harding joining the conference and their move to the MTAC from TSSAA?
I think it was fantastic for them. I think it'll be good for the conference. I think it opens up a lot of eyes for other small schools out there, and we're even looking at that. We've talked about that a little bit with some of the board members just to see if there's some other schools that are just getting hammered, in TWSAA. Roster sizes of 60 are hard to go against when you have a roster size of 25 or 17. And, there's a little niche there with 8-man football, and it kind of gives everybody an opportunity each and every Friday or Saturday night, when the games are being played.
Yeah, I think, James, which school have you been advocating out of Columbia?
see, I'm looking like a Zion Christian from Columbia. I'm looking at Grace Christian out of Leapers Fork, who was in 8-man, moved to TWSAA. I think they made the playoffs one year after going 4-6, and then since then it's been rough for them. So I think teams like that could definitely take a look. Webb has struggled this first year. Now, second year they may get, they may be able to start clicking. But I think in a couple of years, Webb's going to have to take another look at it and say, what's best for business. Yeah. And for me, if they don't really figure it out next year, I think best for business is back to 8.
Yeah, that was the team I was going to name next is the Webb School. Your thoughts on them after the MTAC championship, getting second place in the conference, heading to 11-man?
Well, I mean, everybody's got to try something, and looking at their season last year and then looking at some of the size of those guys, I thought they would, you got to give it a try and do a 2-year schedule and see how it's going to pan out. The one thing I think what people look at with 8-man football, 8-man football, if you look at it like from a professional side, it's arena football.
Yeah.
On grass, and Kurt Warner, if I'm not mistaken, was in arena football, then went to the pros and had a very successful career.
Hall of Fame career.
That sometimes that puts back people I'm going from 11-man to 8-man. Can I get kids to college? Sure you can.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of coaches out there look for skilled players, and 8-man gives that opportunity. Heck, even the linemen, they're not huge linemen. They're skilled linemen that probably could play a linebacker position or somewhere else, in a small college somewhere. So, I mean, that opens it up, for other schools, small schools, like you said, Zion Christian and maybe Grace Christian, to think about that if that's a goal of theirs. And one, it builds morale in small schools, too.
Right.
You can't keep getting pounded.
Yeah.
An 11-man with 60-man rosters out there, it's tough.
Well, and with player participation going down, you have a lot of your smaller county schools too that are struggling. And if you've got smaller county schools looking at it, then I would think at some point the TWSAA would take a look at it and think about saying, because it's sanctioned, it's very all over the Midwest.
I think Iowa now has it sanctioned.
Iowa,
now, right?
Oklahoma, Nebraska. I mean, all these Midwest towns.
Or Midwest states,
with towns of 500 people, 100 kids in the high school, 20 kids come out for football. That's the norm. That's the staple.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he played 8-man football in high school. Was a walk-on at Boise State.
It's Vander Esch.
And then first round draft pick.
First round, number 19.
So it's
great.
so it is, the dream is possible, and it could go through 8-man football as well. So I think people, if that's a dream of theirs, there's a niche out there for them.
Yeah.
Just find the right school to go to.
Yeah. Speaking of another school that's that they have not quite made the leap to varsity football yet, but they are an MTAC. That's Providence Christian. They were at the scheduling meeting back in February, and they were going to participate in varsity football, but then decided to drop out. Is it more of an encouraging thing on the conference's side, trying to encourage them to make that jump up to varsity, because their middle school program has been successful in 8-man football? So what's kind of your thoughts on Providence Christian with them being in first and out?
This is just my thoughts. I'm not in there, every day and just trying to hear what their athletics is about. But I think when you make a jump, it's always a little bit, scary. But it's easier to make a jump from 8-man than 8-man to 11-man. If that's your first time doing something, it's numbers. They had a few numbers, and they wanted to do middle school football again for one more year. So, and they said, I think we'll have a little bit more better numbers next year. And then they're thinking about joining next year. So it could shake up a bunch of things, especially from the north and south, and where teams are aligned next year, depending on if we have any more phone calls and schools that want to come in.
Yeah, that would be great if Providence came up, because we've been looking at them potentially going up to varsity football for a few years now.
In your opinion, is there a number, because obviously the league sits at 10 right now, it was going to sit at 12 to start the year. Is there a number that you get to where at some point you say, okay, we're split up north and south now, but now there needs to be more division to kind of even things out a little bit? Is there a number that has ever been discussed? Or?
No, it hasn't, but that's a great question. We did talk about that. We would like to have a north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
That is really, the goal of it. If you can get to, you look at 20 teams or even 16 teams, you kind of have to play with it.
I think 16 is probably a pretty good number.
And you can go four overall round and then just kind of play some cross-division stuff. But, that's kind of that's the goal. I mean, we're just trying to build a little foundation at a time. If you don't try stuff, I know we talked about the 6-man playoff. We discussed it, and I was just like, let's do it. There's no – if we don't try it, we don't know how it works, but maybe that'll give the NCAA something to think about doing as well.
Yeah, James, that's another thing James has been advocating for years, even though we don't have a pull in that. But, the only other school I wanted to ask about is that Sacred Heart did come out to the scheduling meeting in February, and they looked like they were going to join in, but they started having number issues and such, and then they had to, I think, about a week before the Jamboree or a few days before the season, they had to drop out, unfortunately. So it's one of those things you'd never want to see, regardless of what position you have in the conference and such. But is the hope to potentially give Sacred Heart more? Trying to think of where my question was going with that, but I guess
how you can help Sacred Heart out with being able to get up and running.
Well, the one thing is, it starts with the school, the athletic department, the coaches. They have to be in there in the classrooms, in the hallways, and then if they're again, like I go back to, if you're getting beat, how do you keep that morale up? But it takes time to build a program. It doesn't, if we start football tomorrow at a school and the school gets pounded the first year, how do these kids' morale stay at? Well, it just keeps saying, hey, there's a process.
For sure.
I started baseball at a school in 2010, and the one thing I told them was, like, it's going to take time. And it took time, and that's what it is. It just takes time. It just keeps pulling guys in and in and in, and just make them believe in what you're trying to do, But you always have a chance in 8-man, I think, every Friday night.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you just had that light conversation, and we've talked about it off air. But just for those who don't know, the 16 playoff, James has been advocating for it for years. Some people have been calling for it. What was the conversation on that, of getting that implemented and finally saying this is what the conference needs to do?
Nothing. No.
Nothing at all. No. Yeah, it was just, we're just going to do it.
No, Jordan asked me, and we talked about it. We kind of brought it up, and, you're playing Friday games as a first round, then you're playing a semifinal. It's hard to get guys back up for a third and fourth place game. Mm-hmm. I've been doing, coaching 17 years. I wouldn't want to play in the third or fourth place game. Championship game is championship game. You don't want to get guys hurt going playing third and fourth because they may play reckless. Mm-hmm. That was one thing I was looking at, and going six teams. You're getting 2 more teams involved. Yep. That's what it is, and then you never know. Maybe you go to 8 teams. Maybe you expand
if it's needed.
Maybe expand it exactly if it's needed. But then that gets a little dicey when it gets into other seasons of basketball with smaller schools and stuff like that. So you got to just be careful. But 16, we're going to try it. It seems like it'll work out. I'm excited to see what's about to take place here at Ezel, being centrally located. Hopefully, we get a bunch of schools out there supporting that. I mean, we'll be also doing the all-conference team that night as well, so that'll be exciting for those guys.
Here's the thing about Ezel hosting it too is, and with it being on a Saturday night, that weekend's the first round of TSSAA playoffs, but that's on Friday night. So all your media outlets, everyone that's looking at it, Ezel has pulled a lot. I mean, their athletic director went on Channel 4 News and did a news story about it. So they're trying to help pull that mainstream media focus in. If you can get that on the championship, being on a Saturday night at a centrally located school, that's got huge potential.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see Big Joe on the go there.
I hope so. I hope we can get him there.
He
follows us on Twitter. Yeah, he follows us on Twitter. We might as well send him a message.
I would think for sure.
I may have to call him. I know he's been out to Ezel quite a few times at the practice and stuff. So
here's what I want to y'all go ahead. I want to see if Tennessee plays that day.
So with the 16 playoff,
no one cares about Vandy.
I know you can't do any predictions or such because we leave the job to James and Isaiah on that. But your thoughts kind of on with the 16 playoff being in the matchups that we have in the first round, and with CCS and Ezel getting a bye, like is that the way that the conference really enjoys with that playing out, and does it look like it's going to set teams up for success going towards a championship run?
The one thing about playoffs, it's a new season.
Mm-hmm.
So the bye is great for guys. The 2 schools, CCS and Ezel, got a bye. That's fantastic. Yep. and then the other guys, may have some momentum. So sometimes the bye week helps and it don't help.
Yeah.
Game planning it does to a certain point, but not being hit in pads, for a whole week, that'll be interesting to see. It probably when you look at the north and the south side, I think the south was probably heavier with the teams this year. I know when I was sitting here earlier just listening, can we get all the overall, but not everybody plays each other.
Yeah.
So that's the difficult side of it. So that's kind of where we're at now is, by having 6 teams, this is the first year. We'll start it. We'll see how it goes, which it looks like it'll benefit. There again, you're giving an extra team an opportunity to play, and you never know what's going to happen because everybody's going to have game film. Everybody's, game planning. Is somebody going to come up with something new?
Right.
And that's what's exciting. Maybe there's a dark horse. You never know.
Yeah. James is predicting maybe. We'll get to his predictions later.
I'll speak my own predictions.
The league did give a statement on this earlier with the Tennessee Heat choosing to go independent, and then by virtue of that, South Haven locked into the 2 seed, Bowling Green locked into the 3. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that statement with the Heat choosing to go independent? No,
not really. I mean, they're a great organization. I know Ryan Scott for years. Hopefully that we'll get them back in and come back into the league. I think would be fantastic. It's just something that they want to do, and we support their decision. Just like anybody we would. There's a lot of schools that were independent and then they come back. It's no different than Webb. They're going 11-man, 2-year schedule. Would we welcome them back? I'm sure we would. Why wouldn't we?
Not to say, of course, it wouldn't be welcome back, but the Tennessee Heat, it's people are looking at they're kind of looking at the Freedom Cowboys because they've had an independent route for several years, and now after this year, 4-1 against MTAC teams. So maybe the Heat's looking at it thinking maybe this is a route we could go, or maybe it's a route that we want to try and see if we have the chance to go towards that.
Sure.
I like the move. I've as I've said on the show, I've applauded both sides. I've applauded Coach Ryan Scott for sticking with his guns and focusing on the guys that he had, but also applaud the league for, even if I disagree with the rule, I still applaud them for enforcing the rule. I will give props for that. That's something you have to do.
Yeah, rules, they're made to be looked at. They're made to be amended each year and see what helps out, especially with small conferences, what can help out as we move forward. But also we don't want to put it in jeopardy as well by if we make a wrong decision. But right now, that's the way the rules have been written, and we're just trying to go by those at this point.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So this year, the MTAC Championship, there were talks about it potentially being at a college last year and talks about that this year. And the jump hasn't quite been made yet, but we do know it's in the works. We had the pleasure of having Coach Jordan Flanders on the show earlier in the year, and he did tell us the backup host was Ezel Harding, so we were prepared for in case the college plans fell through. But with Ezel Harding, like we mentioned, it's a great environment, great place to host a championship and such. But any previews to potential host sites for the MTAC Championship in the future years?
Not yet. Maybe 8-Man Extreme will build a field, and there you go.
That's the plan.
I mean,
that's the plan. I mean, James has been wanting like a full warehouse studio and such for us to host the skills camp.
James, don't Spencer know some doctors? I'm sure he has some
I'm
holders.
sure he does. Listen, this guy can do sponsorships like nobody's business.
We don't have, he can probably build a field out here in Franklin somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
this guy can do sponsorships like nobody's business.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I just got enough for us to get through the season.
I don't know though, Spencer. There's a couple of great spots that you guys, Lancaster's played at Riverside. What do you think about Riverside?
I've never played.
Oh, you guys?
Oh, yeah,
play
that's right.
Riverside?
Yeah, they played there last year. I didn't go down there.
Okay, gotcha. If you were, I've been down there several times. I think it's a great. It's a great secondary site to Ezel. I think Ezel's the preferred site, just with it being centrally located in terms of media. But I think if that wasn't able to work out, I think you got to look at Riverside. And I've said it, for forever. Just Coach Creasy and how hardworking he is. I think it'd be great.
That and all the staff at Riverside too. They would roll out the red carpet if you guys chose to host a championship over there. I mean, but yeah, of course the main argument has been the centrally located championship because it used to be a Curry Ingram for so many years.
And I'll be selfish for a second as a member of the media that is involved in game broadcasts. I'm not going to argue with having it at Ezel with their press box. I'm not arguing at all.
Yeah. It's a good place to host it. But But yeah,
the stairs aren't nice to this old boy.
Yeah,
but, you know.
yeah. Maybe an elevator to put up
Get
there.
a Bally.
Like
if we could get if we could get like a Ballymore or some kind of like external
get some
hoist.
stuff lifted up there. That
You
would
want
be great.
lattes too, boys?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean,
If you
as
will
long as they're not Starbucks.
okay.
for him, you could get him Frothy Monkey or Tim Hortons or something like that, or Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts.
He just
Okay.
gave me the worst look. by
Like
saying
Frothy
that.
Monkey. What the?
Yeah, I don't even know what a frothy monkey is.
It's a coffee shop. That's
It's a hippie coffee, yuppie coffee coffee
Yeah,
shop.
I don't.
It's one of them.
I don't live in Franklin.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
starting to pop up in Nashville and other places.
Well,
They haven't
it's
come to
like the
Smyrna
whole
yet.
Bellmead,
I
you know,
gotcha.
the rich
Okay.
people
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
All right.
but
We got a Dunkin' Donuts where I live.
That's
so
what I do.
that's-
Dunkin' sounds
Donuts.
good.
That's the go-to.
Yeah, sounds good. But
If you want Starbucks, go to Kroger.
exactly. So it kind of wrapping up here because we have we got
plenty of
plenty
time.
plenty of time, of course. But since we know that the last two presidents for the conference have unfortunately they've had to resign due to various reasons. Of course, the one before you, Tim Pettit, he ended up resigning after the day after the football championship and such to take care of his family and everything, and then you presume the role from that. I know that I believe you're serving the rest of his term, which I believe goes a year from the spring, or maybe a little bit more or less.
I think
But
it goes next summer.
Next summer. But as interim president, you're not just football. You regulate all the other. You help with all the other sports and the coordination and such. What is the main emphasis or the main goal that you have going forward as the interim and hopefully reelected president for MTAC?
You're always trying to get schools. That's the one thing. Schools with the right fit. So then you can branch out and, do so maybe in north, south, east, west. The one thing that I wouldn't mind seeing is splitting up in divisions, have a Division I, Division II, something like that. I know they did that in football a few years back.
Yep.
The hard part is you can't split the schools right away. I think it's year to year looking at what the standings are. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
You have volleyball, you have basketball, and what it does, it just gives everybody an opportunity to still play for something, and then throwing away the third and fourth place game. We're doing a Division II game, Division I game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually getting two games in the same day on that side. And that's just something we throw around and talk about. You do have to have the teams to do that. You just can't do it on like 10 teams. You want to maybe get to 13, 14 if possible and try to split it up as much as you can.
Well, and a sister, a sister conference to y'all, the TACS. They actually do that for their postseason as well in basketball. Yeah, TACS. They've got the Division I, Division II for basketball, for volleyball, for soccer. They split it up like that based on school size. So that's something that it's kind of a precedent that y'all could almost talk about. And
yeah, the school size is always. I've seen schools as small as 90 in their high school, or 50 to beat a school of 200.
Right.
In a basketball season, I'm talking not football necessarily, but that's where. That's kind of hard to gauge sometimes because you do have those schools that are bigger, but they're not necessarily better in that sport. But it is something, though, you got to take mindful and look at what is best, to keep them, keep the morale going on that. Sure. Obviously, we don't have 11-man football. You have 8-man football, so that's not something. But volleyball, basketball, stuff like that, most of there's not a number change. You play with 6, you play with 5, out there on the field. So – that's something we're just looking at right now and seeing, throwing it around. Yep.
Well, we appreciate you coming to the studio, Coach Horner. We appreciate you taking the time to.
I brought my wife with me.
Of course, yeah.
She has to keep me. She's driving me today, so driving me around.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like driving Miss Daisy?
Well,
if I wasn't involved in sports, she would make me involved in sports because it would drive her crazy.
Oh yeah.
I have to be involved.
You got to
in
get him
sports
out of your
doing
hair
something.
every now and then. That's how my wife is.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, John. We're looking forward to the postseason championship and such, and hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
We'll let y'all finish up your date.
Yep,
of course.
All right. Appreciate it.
The MTAC President John Horner. A pleasure to have him on the show. That was a really great conversation we had with him.
It was good. It was good. It was good to good to get that perspective on some topics and just to actually have the face-to-face conversation.
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, it was really great. And now it's time to get into the meat of things, boys. It's time for prediction time. And just to clarify, ladies and gentlemen, James you are now making week-to-week predictions.
It's a
instead
different
of
ball game
pre-jamboree.
now.
It's completely changed.
It's a different ball game
now.
yeah,
It's going to be completely
Chris,
changed.
nice to meet you.
And here we go.
All right, but still, you think about how it would be week to week. Again, 3 weeks before the season, and I went 45-13.
Yeah.
So
that's a pretty good record and such. But now we got Isaiah, so you got someone to fight with over these predictions instead of me.
I think me and James are probably going to line up on these.
We'll see.
You might. All right, here we go. We got
see.
the playoff bracket on screen again. So we'll start out with the game on Friday. And again, both these games live only on 8-Man Extreme.
Exclusive.
Yep, we are the only ones who will be broadcasting these games. Actually, correction. We're the only ones who will be doing a video broadcast because I believe Riverside Christian has a radio guy.
They do have a radio broadcast.
So he's a great guy.
Shout out. Shout out.
Broadcast and such. But,
Jerry Neal.
Jerry Neal, yeah. He's a great guy. I have a pleasure of hearing him while we're broadcasting.
He's a lot of fun. He's impressive.
But, yeah, we will be the only ones doing a video broadcast of the first round of the playoffs. So we start out with the game on October 25th. The South Haven Christian School Patriots. We know exactly what happened the last time they were the number 2 seed in the North. The question is, can they repeat and go on the cycle for magic? But they've got a tough game ahead of them. They just took that loss earlier they just took that tough loss on Friday to Riverside, unfortunately, on the road. A lot of factors that went into it. But by their loss of 60-24 against the Knights in Fayetteville, the question is, at home in Springfield without the travel, can the Patriots get it done and defend their home turf to collide with the Ezel Eagles in Antioch? So, James, the floor is yours. Patriots, Knights on Friday.
I'm not going to make my pick right off the bat. I'm going to calmly discuss.
Okay, so you're going to preface it. You're going to preface it and then not give your pick.
I'm going to preface my pick, okay? I will make a case for both sides, and then I will give my decision. Hang on.
As soon as he has to
flip
the hat again?
That way it's out of my face.
Oh, my gosh.
It's got to stay out of the face. Okay, so this computer running hot. Anyways. All right, I'm going to pull up the stats for both sides because I want to be extremely accurate.
As extreme as
Are
Extreme
we
Radio?
picking scores?
No. We don't do scores on 8-Man Extreme.
Somebody else handles that.
Yeah, we leave that to shout out to Jonathan Thompson. We leave
all
that
right.
to him for scores.
So, Mr. David Black, 89 of 162, 1,850 yards. So he's got a 55% completion percentage. He's thrown for 29 touchdowns. He's only thrown 7 interceptions. Okay, QB rating of 117. Mr. Jake Grubelski is a wild card for him if anything happens to Black. He was the starter last year, and he's been the closer for them this season. Okay, so they're already set there. They don't have to worry about backup quarterback. You look at the flip side. You look at South Haven Christian. I'm going to pull up the stats for South Haven.
Come on, pull up those South Haven stats.
I'm working on it right now. Okay, by player. So Andrew Crawley's the quarterback for South Haven. Okay, they've got they don't have the latest game on there, the one against Riverside. So in 6 games, Mr. Crawley, 45 of 83, 612 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. If those are the complete stats, those are the stats. So, in terms of quarterback, I'm going to give it to Riverside, okay? Running back, you've got Emmanuel Ding, 45 carries, 462 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's the leading running back for them right now, okay? Mr. Crutcher Ezel for Riverside Christian, 66 carries, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, so not as many. Still more yards, still more carries. Ding's averaging 10.3 yards, and Ezel is averaging 9.1. So just a yard shy. So on that regard, I'm going to give the edge to South Haven Christian, to Mr. Emmanuel Deng. Receiving, he also is their leading receiver. 13 catches, 260 yards, 6 touchdowns. Number 1 receiver for Riverside. Let me throw this in there. They've got 3 receivers at 500 yards. South Haven's leading receiver has 260 yards. Again, this is if stats are accurate, okay? So, Riverside Christian, their leading receiver, Mr. Crutcher Ezel, who's also the leading running back, 32 catches, 598 yards, 12 touchdowns. Number 2 wide receiver, 23 catches, 666 yards, 10 touchdowns. So, edge, Riverside.
Why do I have a feeling that Isaiah is just going to quick give his prediction and hardly do any explanation?
That's
and you're
fine.
just doing this full
I'm
build-up.
giving
excess build-up.
Yeah, I come back after a couple months, and now James is giving the stats, and I'm giving the quick.
Exactly.
I'm making a case for my decision, okay? Leading
Justify to.
leading defender for Riverside Christian. I'll give you one guess.
Riley Hall.
Crutcher Ezel, 86 tackles, 14 tackles for loss. Young man's got 4 sacks, so he leads the team in sacks. He doesn't lead the team in interceptions. Michael Black has 8 interceptions on the year for South Haven Christian. Okay, number 1 defender is Emmanuel Ding. He's got 39 tackles. He's got no sacks, and he's got 2 interceptions. Riverside has the edge there. You look at every facet of the game except for running back, I think Riverside has the edge there. In terms of everything else, Riverside has the edge. So guess what, boys? I'm picking Riverside Christian as a 3 seed to upset the 2 seed in Springfield. They've already beat them once. They're going to beat them again Friday night. And then we're going to have a Riverside Ezel matchup who, let me say, they were tied at 30 going into the 4th quarter in their game at Ezel. Riverside has done it once. They can do it again. Riverside's my dark horse for the championship.
Yeah, I agree with you, James.
See?
I do.
Sure.
So playing against Riverside, you notice one thing. Of course, they were having some problems snapping the ball. I'm sure those problems have been fixed since then.
Yeah.
But when the snap was right, their protection was unbelievable. And Black, when he gets in the pocket, he can move around and force corners to come inside and trick them and get guys wide open. In order for South Haven to have any chance in this one, their corners and secondary are going to have to be attentive on every play. They're going to have to make the right reads, and they're going to have their best game of the season. But just based off of matchup-wise, I think Riverside has the edge.
Well,
All
both
right,
you
so
guys
we'll
taking
take
Riverside, so that'll mean Riverside Ezel in the semifinal. Saturday night is all right for fighting. Lancaster Christian Academy Knights hosting the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors. It's a good Elton John song. Both of them colliding on Saturday night.
Who listens to Elton John?
For the second year
Spencer.
in a row.
Other than the LGBTQ plus community.
You might want to talk to your dad about that, and talk to the rest of your older family in that, because they listen.
My dad
to
didn't listen to Elton John.
You might want to talk to the rest of your elderly family about that, because it's
The rest of my
classic
elderly
hit.
family didn't
He's
listen
part of
to
classic rock. Anyways, Saturday
cares
night,
about classic
7
rock?
p.m. Saturday night, 7 p.m. This is the second year in a row that a team has gotten into the playoffs not on their own hand, or somewhat on their own hand, because of the Heat dropping out. Last year it was Lighthouse being ineligible, and so the Heat got into the postseason as the number 2 seed. Then Bowling Green got the bowl slot. And then this year, it's with the Heat dropping out. South Haven locked in at number 2, and then number 3 is Bowling Green. So it's interesting, and overall with Bowling Green, I believe a 1-8 team on the season.
Why don't you just go to 8minuteextreme.com?
Yeah, it's 1-8. Bowling Green got the 1 victory against Lighthouse Christian School earlier in
I'll
the
go to
year.
8minuteextreme.com.
I got the score right there. So 1-8, they got the victory. Although it was technically their game against the Heat was considered a forfeit, so they technically 2-6.
1-8. No, it would have been a forfeit if the Heat would have continued to be in the league.
That's true. So 1-8, they finished the season because of their victory against Lighthouse. They're in the postseason, and they're against Lancaster Christian Academy. They're against that high-powered offense of Deuce Bragg, the Moore brothers. You got Devin Hargrove on the defensive side. But on a Saturday night game, Bowling Green, and again, like you said, Gage Holman in the postseason. It's never happened before. The question is, can Gage Holman lead the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors to an upset in Smyrna on Saturday?
I think he finds just enough in the tank, and he just absolutely just dominates that football game. Football team is not one player, but he is to me, he's the second best player in the league. And honestly, I think there's a case to be made that the first best should be in the playoffs, but he's the second best player in the league. I still don't think it'll be.
second that.
I still don't. What's that?
Biased.
Playoffs.
A little bit biased, of course.
Yeah,
but
4-4.
that being said, Lancaster has beat Bowling Green once. They're the second seed in the South. They're the number 2 team in the conference. Lancaster's going to pick up the win.
Isaiah?
I agree with you, and for this reason. Well, many reasons, but this reason.
Narrow it down, Isaiah.
Last time Deuce Bragg played at home, he threw for 750 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Before the Ezel game.
Before the Ezel game.
Yep.
No, because they weren't at home.
That was
Last
they
game they
home.
played at home.
Yeah, last
they
game they
played
played
Ezel at
Ezel on
home.
Friday, and then they played Riverside.
You're
before
thinking about the
fall break at
Riverside
home.
game.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking. Did I say Riverside?
You
No.
said
Lancaster played at Ezel.
No, they
No.
did not.
Am I crazy?
Yeah, you are. We were there on
I was
Friday.
imagining myself
I'm
in the
pretty
Ezel
sure there
press
on
box.
Friday.
I'm pretty sure I was
there
in
on
my
Friday.
truck driving to Smyrna
Wow.
Friday
Yeah,
night.
Friday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we were at Smyrna.
Everything just flipped in my brain.
You're talking
His
about
whole
the
reasoning's just gone.
You're talking
like, what?
Because
Well, that being said, Deuce Bragg a couple weeks ago against a strong secondary probably set MTAC records that will never be broken. And I think although he did have a rough game on Friday, he has so much momentum this season. I don't know if anybody besides Ezel can keep up.
Are you telling me he might be better than Cole Warren?
We'll see in a couple of years.
hey, he's a freshman. He's doing good stats. We'll see if he can break Cole's records. He could.
He hasn't beaten the career QBR record just because he doesn't have the years.
Yeah.
But he's already surpassed him in touchdowns. Juice Bragg, if he stays in the MTAC, he will probably be the most decorated quarterback in MTAC history.
Yeah, he's probably going to stay.
It's possible.
So both of you guys taking Lancaster
Yes.
to play.
Yes.
The Lancaster.
It'll be
prediction,
Lancaster CCS
a
at
rematch
CCS.
of
Hey,
last
we've
year.
already seen how that works.
Yep, and
Just say that.
it's tough to win in May Flanders Field, but with
But
Lancaster,
CCS is down though.
Yep, they are.
They've got
It's
some
down.
injuries. If
Yep.
they can recoup over the next week, it'll be interesting. But if they can't recoup,
But we'll have to see the games finalized for the first round before we make any predictions on that.
and guess where you watch them get finalized?
On the 8-man extreme.
Right here on our YouTube channel.
Yep, we'll have all three of us are going to be on the call for that game
For both games, and we're going to roll out the red carpet and
Yep.
pull out a new feature we're working on.
Yep, we're working on that. You'll be able to see that.
Don't overhype it. It's kind of cool, but
He's right. He's right.
To have started filming on an iPhone, I'm going to overhype it.
Of course.
We started on phones,
Yep.
calling into a number to do a game.
And now we're going to be the only video broadcast of the first round of the playoffs. It's going to be special. So, Friday night, Riverside travels to Springfield to collide with South Haven. We'll be calling that game. Saturday night, Lancaster hosts Bowling Green. We'll be calling that game. Both of those here on YouTube at 8-Man Extreme. The first round of the playoffs in the conference's first ever 16 playoff. It begins on Friday. It's going to be special. That'll conclude Extreme Radio for this week. The pre-playoff show presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you are with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. Get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare. Modern medicine the old-fashioned way. We're also sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Visit drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
Hey, it's only October. Tomorrow, though, I'm going to say this. Tomorrow is going to be Christmas for some players. We'll be sending out all-star game invites.
Yep.
Tomorrow. We're going to sit down right now after the show, put together the rosters, send out the invites. So keep a lookout for those. Ask your coach. Ask your coach about it. Guess what I'm going to also do as soon as this show's over? We'll grab me another piece of Jets Pizza.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Maybe grab
Hey,
some of the cinnamon
listen,
sticks, too.
Hey, I'm down. No matter where you are, specifically Clarksville, Springfield, Fort Campbell, coming soon to Goodlettsville, no matter where you are, it still is always a great time to say, let's get Jets. And it's always a great time to save money on insurance. I hate buyinginsurance.com. Our buddy Joe Graves. Give him a shot. Let him give you a quote. Go to the website and see what he can do for you.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Friday, South Haven, Riverside. Saturday, Lancaster, Bowling Green. We got both of those games here. Both of them kicking off at 7 p.m.
Broadcast will start at 6:45.
Yep, on 8-Man Extreme. For Isaiah Austin, For James Shannon, J.D. Young, Monica Shannon, all the hardworking men and women that make 8-Man Extreme so successful, I'm Spencer Thompson. We'll see you. The playoffs are upon us.
See ya!